Marina lay on the wet ground, still gasping for breath, her hands protecting her 7-month pregnant belly. The heavy silence of the lavish party was cut by his voice, feigning despair as guests filmed everything. She lifted her eyes and stared at her billionaire husband, who had just pushed her into a pool full of piranhas. There was no turning back. The man the entire country admired had just tried to kill his own pregnant wife in front of dozens of witnesses. And the worst part, he thought he had succeeded. Before we dive into this story, leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 10 and tell us which city you're joining us from. May this moment bring reflection and emotion to your heart. Marina had always known it was too good to be true. At least that's what everyone said. A black girl raised in a remote bayou community in Louisiana, who grew up fishing with her father and studying by lantern light, now lived in a 3-story mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, married to Robert Kingston, one of the richest and most influential businessmen in the country. Celebrity magazines loved to tell this story, the modern-day Cinderella, the real-life fairy tale, the handsome, successful entrepreneur who fell in love with the simple girl and lifted her out of poverty. Robert appeared on magazine covers holding her hand, smiling for the cameras, talking about true love and family values. People sighed on social media. They called him the perfect husband, but no one saw what happened when the cameras turned off. Marina adjusted the designer dress Robert had chosen for her that morning, an elegant navy blue dress that cleverly concealed her 7-month pregnancy. She looked at her reflection in the closet mirror and barely recognized herself. Her hair was different, straightened and pulled back in a low bun that Robert approved of. Her makeup was subtle, just the way he liked it. Even her jewelry was chosen by him. "Marina, are you ready?" His voice echoed from the hallway. She took a deep breath. "I'm coming." Robert appeared at the closet door with that rehearsed smile she knew so well. The magazine smile, the interview smile, the smile he never used when they were alone. "You look beautiful," he said, but his eyes critically swept over her. "Less shine on the lips next time. You know I don't like it when you draw too much attention." Marina nodded in silence. There was no point in arguing. She had learned that over the past 3 years of marriage. "Today is an important day," Robert continued, adjusting his Italian suit. "There will be journalists at the meeting, important politicians, international investors. I need you to be friendly but discreet. Smile, wave, say little." "As always," Marina murmured. He ignored the comment. "And don't mention anything about the baby. Let me handle that subject when I deem it appropriate." Marina felt her child stir inside her belly, as if protesting. She placed her hand on her abdomen, an automatic gesture of protection that had become frequent in recent months. "Robert, I was thinking," she began hesitantly, "perhaps I should go to this week's prenatal appointment without the security team, just me and the doctor. It would be more peaceful." His face immediately hardened. "We've already talked about this. You're not going anywhere without security. You are my wife. Anything that happens to you affects my image, my company, my businesses. But I just wanted to." "Marina," his voice grew lower, more dangerous. "You don't want me to lose my temper, do you? Not today. Not with everything that's going on." She knew that tone. It meant the conversation was over. It meant that if she insisted, the part no one saw would come. The yelling, the accusations, the slamming doors, and lately, worse things. "All right," she said softly. "Whatever you want." Robert smiled again, satisfied. "Great. Now let's go. The driver is waiting." In the car, Marina looked out the window as New York City rushed by. The busy streets, people hurrying to work, life happening there, so close and yet so distant from her at the same time. She felt like an actress trapped in a movie she hadn't chosen to be in. Robert was on his phone, as always. Messages he hid from her, calls he took in another room, meetings that lasted until dawn. Marina wasn't stupid. She knew there was another woman. In fact, she had found out 3 weeks ago. It had been an accident. His phone had been left on the couch while he showered. A notification appeared on the screen. A message from someone named Brittany. A photo. Marina didn't want to look, but curiosity was stronger. The image showed Robert and a stunning blonde at an expensive restaurant. She was laughing, her hand on his arm. The caption read, can't wait for you to get rid of this whole thing so we can truly live." Marina had felt the ground give way beneath her, not because of the betrayal itself, she had already suspected that, but because of the phrase, "get rid of this whole thing." Was that how he referred to her? Was his pregnant wife just a thing he wanted to get rid of? She had taken a photo of the screen with her own phone before Robert returned, and then she started to investigate. Brittany Hayes, digital influencer, 200,000 followers. Blonde, thin, fair-skinned, always impeccable. Exactly the type of woman that matched Robert's public image. Not like Marina, who even after 3 years of marriage was still seen as the exotic wife at business dinners. But Marina discovered something far worse than the affair. Discreetly searching his computer one afternoon when Robert was out, she found hidden folders, strange contracts, shell companies registered in tax havens, million-dollar transfers to politicians, and most frighteningly, non-disclosure agreements paid to former employees of his company, women who had reported harassment and were silenced with money. One of them had written in an email before signing the agreement, "I just wanted someone to believe me, but I know that against a man like him I have no chance." Marina had copied everything. Documents, spreadsheets, emails, audio recordings of compromising meetings. She had created a secret email account and sent everything there. She didn't know yet what she would do with that information, but she knew she needed it, especially now that she was pregnant and completely dependent on him. The baby inside her stirred again, stronger this time. Marina caressed her belly over her dress. "I will protect you," she whispered softly. "No matter what happens, I will get us out of here." "Did you say something?" Robert asked, putting down his phone for a second. "No, the baby is moving." He didn't even look at her belly. When we arrive, you'll go straight to the VIP lounge. I don't want you circulating through the building." Marina already knew. Robert always kept her isolated. He controlled who she spoke to, where she went, what she did. He said it was for security, but she knew the truth. It was control. It was power. It was a prison disguised as protection. The car stopped in front of the commercial building, where Robert had offices on the top floor. Marina got out with the driver's help as security guards positioned themselves around. She felt like a doll being moved from one place to another. "Smile," Robert murmured in her ear as he greeted someone. "People are watching." Marina smiled. It was what she did best now. Smile when she didn't feel like it. Wave when she wanted to scream. Pretend everything was fine when everything was falling apart. But something inside her was changing. Every document she discovered, every lie she uncovered, every time she looked at her belly and thought of the child coming, Marina felt a strength grow, a determination she didn't know she had. She didn't know it yet, but in a few days, everything would explode, and when it did, the whole world would watch. Marina was alone in Robert's office VIP lounge, as always. A luxurious room with a panoramic view of New York City, Italian leather sofas, expensive paintings on the walls. A golden cage, she thought, beautiful on the outside, suffocating on the inside. She took out her phone and opened the photos she had taken of his documents. There was so much incriminating material that sometimes she herself was startled. Robert was not just a successful businessman. He was a white-collar criminal, hidden behind an expensive suit and a magazine smile. The door suddenly opened, and Marina quickly locked her phone. A blonde woman entered, smiling with exaggerated friendliness. Marina recognized the face immediately. Brittany, the mistress. "Hi, you must be Marina." Brittany extended her hand, all charming. "I'm Brittany Hayes, Robert's image consultant. He asked me to keep you company while he's in the meeting." Marina shook her hand, feeling a cold rage rise in her chest. So this was how Robert was playing now, putting his wife and his mistress in the same room? "Pleasure," Marina replied with the most neutral voice possible. Brittany sat on the sofa beside her, crossing her legs. She wore a tight white dress, high heels, impeccable makeup. Everything about her screamed, rich businessman's wife. Everything about her was the opposite of Marina. "It must be hard, right?" Brittany said with false empathy. "Being pregnant and having to attend all these boring meetings. I admire your dedication." Marina stared at her. Robert always says family comes first. Oh yes, he says that a lot. Brittany smiled, but there was something sharp in the smile. By the way, how much longer until the baby is born? 2 months. How exciting. Her tone didn't sound excited at all. And afterward, will you stay home taking care of the baby, or will you continue accompanying Robert to all these events? Marina realized the game. Brittany was probing, trying to find out what the plan was, how much longer she would have to endure the legitimate wife's existence. We haven't decided yet, Marina replied dryly. Brittany's phone vibrated. She looked at the message and smiled, satisfied. Excuse me, I need to take a quick call. She stood up and went to the window, speaking softly on the phone. Marina took the opportunity to observe her better. Brittany had everything she didn't. She was white, thin, had an influential last name, and had always moved in the same circles as Robert. To the New York elite, Brittany made sense by his side. Marina was just an intruder who had gotten lucky, but Marina had something Brittany would never have. She had proof. She knew the truth. And soon everyone else would know too. Brittany returned to the sofa, putting away her phone. Sorry, work, you know. Robert is quite demanding. I imagine. But he's an incredible man, isn't he? So generous, so charismatic. You were lucky to find someone like that. Marina felt her blood boil. This woman was sitting right there in her face, talking about the husband she was stealing as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Brittany, Marina said calmly, you don't need to pretend with me, I know. The blonde's eyes widened. Know what? About you two. For a second, Brittany seemed to panic, but then she recomposed herself, crossing her arms. I don't know what you're talking about. I know you're together. I know about the messages, the photos, the trips. Marina leaned forward, staring at her husband's mistress. And if you think you're going to be happy with him after I'm out of the picture, you'd better rethink. Men like Robert don't change. They just switch victims. Brittany turned pale. You don't understand anything. Robert is only with you still because of the baby. He truly loves me. After this phase passes. This phase? Marina placed her hand on her belly. You're talking about my child as if he's a phase? That's not what I meant. It was exactly that. Marina stood up, despite the heavy weight of her pregnancy. You can have him, Brittany, but know that you will sleep every day next to a liar, a manipulator, a man who destroys everyone who gets close to him. And when he gets tired of you, and he will get tired, you will be discarded just like he is discarding me now. Before Brittany could respond, the door opened and Robert entered with 2 men in suits. He looked from Marina to Brittany, sensing the tension in the air. Marina, are you all right? He asked with false concern. I'm fine, she replied, grabbing her purse. Just tired, can I go home? Robert exchanged a look with Brittany before answering. Of course, the driver will take you. I have a few more meetings and will be home late. What a surprise, Marina murmured. In the car returning home, Marina looked out the window and felt tears stream down her face. They weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of anger, of indignation, of being tired of pretending everything was fine when nothing was. She took out her phone and opened the secret email where she had stored all the evidence. She looked at the files one by one: illegal contracts, money laundering, bribes, silence agreements. She had everything. But what Marina didn't know yet was that Robert already suspected. He had noticed small changes in her behavior. The way she looked at him, the thoughtful silence, the growing emotional distance, and he had hired a private investigator to watch her. That night, while Marina slept, Robert was in his home office talking with his personal lawyer and Brittany. She knows, Robert said, running a hand through his hair. I'm sure. The way she looks at me has changed. And today, she confronted Brittany. Confronted her how? The lawyer asked. She said she knew about us, Brittany replied, still nervous. She was very direct. I think she's planning something. Robert slammed his hand on the table. I can't afford a scandal right now, not with the elections coming up. Not with international investors watching the company. Marina could destroy everything I've built. A divorce would be complicated, the lawyer pondered. She's entitled to half the assets, and with the baby coming, lifelong alimony. not to mention she could cause a media scandal. Exactly, Robert said, starting to pace. I need to resolve this before it gets out of control. Resolve it how? Brittany asked, but there was fear in her voice. Robert stopped pacing and looked at the two of them, with that cold expression that sometimes appeared when no one was looking. Leave it to me. I know exactly what to do. In the following days, Marina noticed that something had changed. Robert was more attentive, more present, smiling more. He even asked how she was feeling and if the baby was moving well. It was strange, uncomfortable. And then he announced he was throwing a party. A celebration, he said during dinner, smiling broadly. To celebrate the arrival of our son. I'll invite everyone important. Businessmen, politicians, celebrities. It will be an unforgettable night. Marina felt a chill run down her spine. There was something wrong with that smile, something dangerous gleaming in his eyes. Robert, I don't know if I'm in a condition to... You'll be beautiful, he interrupted. I've already ordered the perfect dress for you, and I have a special surprise planned. Marina forced a smile, but inside, every instinct screamed that something very bad was coming. The mansion was transformed. Expensive flowers in every corner, decorative lights strung in the garden trees, live music, waiters circulating with trays of champagne. Marina watched everything from the bedroom, trying to gather courage to go downstairs. The dress Robert had chosen was beautiful, she had to admit. A long light blue gown that accentuated her belly, elegant and discreet at the same time. But she felt exposed, vulnerable, like an animal being prepared for slaughter. You look beautiful. Robert's voice came from the door. He was impeccable in a black tuxedo, hair slicked back, perfect smile on his face. Thank you, Marina responded automatically. He approached, placing a diamond necklace around her neck. Tonight is a special night. Everyone important will be here. Politicians, businessmen, opinion leaders. Everyone wants to meet my wife and celebrate our son. Marina felt the cold weight of the diamonds against her skin. Why are you doing this? This party, this whole charade? Robert smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Because you are my wife, because this is my son, because I built an empire and I deserve to celebrate. Robert, Marina. He held her face with both hands, forcing her to look into his eyes. Tonight you will smile. You will be friendly. You will perfectly play the role of a devoted and happy wife, understood? It wasn't a request, it was an order. Understood, she whispered. Good. He kissed her forehead, a gesture that would seem affectionate to any observer, but which Marina felt as a threat. Let's go downstairs, our guests are waiting. The party was packed. Marina recognized several faces from television, famous politicians, businessmen who appeared in business magazines, all laughing, talking, drinking expensive champagne, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. And then she saw it, the pool. Robert had had a new pool built especially for the party, a huge structure with transparent glass walls lit from within by blue lights, and swimming in the water, visible through the glass, dozens of piranhas. Marina felt her heart race. It's the attraction of the night, a guest commented beside her, excited. Kingston always surprises, a pool with piranhas. Only he would come up with an idea like that. It's surprising, Marina managed to say, but her voice trembled. Robert appeared beside her, placing a possessive hand on her waist. What do you think of my surprise? It's dangerous, Marina said softly. It's fascinating, he corrected. People love it, and it shows power, control, that I'm not afraid of anything. He leaned in and whispered in her ear, not even difficult decisions. Marina pulled away from him, feeling genuine fear for the first time. Something was very wrong. All that party, those people, that absurd pool with piranhas, it was a trap. She knew it. Robert, I'm not feeling well. I think I'll go up to... You will stay, he said firmly, squeezing her arm. Smile. The cameras are rolling. Marina looked around and realized there were professional photographers circulating, in addition to dozens of guests with their cell phones in hand, recording every moment of the lavish party. Brittany appeared on the other side of the pool, stunning in a red dress. She looked at Marina with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. as if she knew something Marina didn't yet. The night progressed in a strange haze. Marina talked to people automatically, smiled for photos, accepted congratulations on her pregnancy, but her mind was alert, trying to understand what Robert was planning. And then, near midnight, it happened. Robert asked for everyone's attention, climbing onto a small platform near the pool. The music stopped. Guests turned to him. "Friends, thank you very much for being here on this very special night," he began with that speech voice he knew how to use so well. "I wanted to gather you to celebrate not only the arrival of my son, but also the success of our businesses, our partnerships, our country." Polite applause. "And of course, to celebrate my wife, Marina." He extended his hand to her. "Come here, my love." Marina hesitated, but everyone was watching. She had no choice. She climbed onto the platform, feeling her legs tremble. Robert pulled her close to him, his arm around her waist. To the guests, they looked like a loving couple, but Marina felt the force with which he held her, the tension in his muscles. "Marina is an extraordinary woman," Robert continued. "She came from humble beginnings, and I was lucky enough to find her and bring her into my life. She taught me about simplicity, about values. Isn't that right, my love?" "Yes," Marina murmured into the microphone. "But lately," his voice grew more serious, "I've noticed Marina has been different, distant, sometimes even suspicious, as if she's hiding something." The atmosphere became tense. Marina felt her blood run cold. "Robert, what are you doing?" "I'm being honest," he said, still smiling at the guests. "I'm opening my heart, saying that perhaps my wife isn't as simple and innocent as I thought, that perhaps she's planning something behind my back." "Robert, stop this." Marina tried to pull away, but he held her tighter. "Could it be jealousy? Pregnancy insecurity?" He paused dramatically. "Or could it be something more calculating, more self-serving?" Marina realized what he was doing. In front of all those influential guests, in front of the cameras, he was building a narrative, painting her as an unstable, paranoid, self-serving woman, preparing the ground for whatever he was going to do next. "You're crazy," she said, but her voice was too low for the microphone to pick up. "Perhaps I'm being unfair," Robert continued, letting go of her and walking across the platform like an actor on stage. "Perhaps it's just my paranoia, but I needed to say this out loud. I needed all of you, my friends, my witnesses, to know that I tried, that I gave everything to this woman, a life she would never have alone. And if one day she tries to destroy me, if she tries to tarnish my name, you will remember this night. You will remember that I warned there was something wrong." The guests were uncomfortable now, unsure how to react. Some exchanged confused glances. Others already had their cell phones raised, recording everything. Marina felt tears burn in her eyes. "Please, stop." "But I love you," Robert said, returning to her side, wiping a tear that ran down her face with his thumb. To those watching, it looked like a gesture of affection, but Marina saw the coldness in his eyes. "Even with all your flaws, with all your insecurities, I love you, and I hope you can overcome these demons that haunt you." He pulled her into a tight embrace and whispered in her ear, too low for any microphone to pick up. "You shouldn't have gone through my things, Marina. You shouldn't have tried to investigate me. Now you'll have to pay the price." Marina abruptly pulled away, feeling panic take over. "I need to get out of here." "Not without apologizing first," Robert said loudly, for everyone to hear. "Not without admitting you're wrong." "I won't." "Admit it!" he suddenly shouted, making Marina take a step back. Her high heels slipped on the wet edge of the platform, and then it happened. Marina felt her body lose balance. She tried to grab onto something, but there was nothing. Robert was right in front of her and could easily have grabbed her arm, but he didn't move. He just watched her fall. The plunge into the water was a cold, terrifying shock. Marina sank, feeling the weight of her dress and pregnancy pulling her down. And then she saw them. Dozens of piranhas swimming around, attracted by the sudden movement. Outside the pool, guests screamed. Some ran closer to the glass. Others raised their cell phones, filming the horror unfolding. Robert remained on the platform with an expression that mixed false despair and contained satisfaction. Marina knew she had only seconds before panic completely consumed her. And at that moment, something inside her awakened. The girl who grew up swimming in dangerous rivers, the woman who survived 3 years of abuse and manipulation, the mother who needed to protect the child within her. She wasn't going to die there. She wasn't going to give Robert that satisfaction. The icy pool water burned Marina's eyes as she forced her mind to calm. The initial instinct was to panic, thrash, scream, but she knew that would only make it worse. Sudden movement attracted fish, and piranhas responded to movement like sharks responded to blood. Marina forced her body to remain as still as possible, letting herself float for a second while assessing the situation. The piranhas swam around her, curious but not yet aggressive. She needed to reach the surface, but calmly, with control. Outside, through the foggy glass of the pool, she could see silhouettes of people screaming. Cell phones raised, camera flashes, and Robert, still on the platform, with that expression Marina would never forget. Satisfaction disguised as horror. He wanted her to die. There, in that ridiculous pool in front of everyone, a tragic accident. The pregnant wife who slipped during an emotional argument. No one would blame the billionaire husband for that. But Marina had grown up swimming in much more dangerous waters than that. She remembered her father teaching her and her siblings to fish in the Amazon River. If you fall near piranhas, don't panic. These fish are cowards. They only attack in groups when they sense weakness. But if you show you're in control, they back off. Marina began to ascend slowly, minimal movements, almost floating rather than swimming. One of the fish approached, brushing against her leg. She swallowed the scream she wanted to let out and continued rising. The surface was right there. Just a few more seconds. One of the piranhas bit her dress, pulling. Marina felt the fabric tear, but she didn't react. She kept rising. Calm. Control. Her head finally emerged, and she gasped desperately for air. The people outside screamed even louder. Marina swam to the nearest edge, where the pool glass met the rim. She used the structure for support and pulled herself out with a strength she didn't know she still had. She fell to her knees on the wet floor, gasping, trembling but alive. The silence that followed was deafening. Marina lifted her head and stared at Robert. He was pale, in shock. This was not what he had planned. She should have died. She should have panicked and been attacked by the piranhas, but she had survived. "Marina!" A woman ran to her with a towel. Other people began to approach, offering help, asking questions. But Marina only had eyes for her husband. "You tried to kill me," she said, still breathless. Her voice came out low, but in the sudden quiet of the party, everyone heard. "Marina, you're in shock." Robert quickly descended from the platform, assuming the role of concerned husband. "It was a horrible accident. You slipped and... you pushed me." Marina stood up, trembling with cold and anger. "I looked into your eyes. You pushed me and waited for me to die." "She's delirious," Robert said to the guests. "The trauma, the pregnancy, she doesn't know what she's saying." "I know exactly what I'm saying," Marina screamed. "You planned this party, this absurd pool, everything. You wanted to kill me in front of everyone and make it look like an accident." "Marina, please, you're going too far." Robert tried to grab her arm, but she pulled away. "Don't touch me." Tears streamed down her face now, tears of anger and fear and relief at being alive. "Don't ever touch me again." "Someone needs to call an ambulance," a woman shouted. "She's pregnant, she might be hurt." "And the police," another man added. "This needs to be investigated." Marina saw Brittany in the background of the crowd, pale, with her hand over her mouth. And then she realized. The cell phones. Dozens of cell phones had recorded everything. The argument on the platform. The fall. Robert standing there doing nothing to help. Marina surviving and accusing her husband. "You recorded it," Marina said, looking at the guests. "You recorded everything." A man with his phone still raised nodded slowly. "Yes, everything is recorded." Robert noticed the change in the atmosphere. People looking at him with suspicion now. Cell phones being discreetly put away to protect the recordings. The narrative he had tried to build crumbling. "Marina, let's talk in private," he said with a tense voice. "Resolve this as a family." "There is no more family," Marina replied. "There's only an attempted murder, that half the world just witnessed. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Someone had called the police and an ambulance. Robert ran a hand through his hair, calculating his next moves. Marina could see his mind working, searching for an escape, an excuse, a way to reverse it. But there was no reversing it now. The paramedics arrived first, checking Marina's and the baby's vital signs. "She needs to go to the hospital," one of them said. "Now." As they placed her on a stretcher, Marina grabbed the paramedic's arm. "I need my phone, I can't go without it." "Marina, you need to worry about your health now." Robert tried to intervene. "My phone," she screamed. "It's in the bedroom, I need it, please." One of the house staff ran to get it. When she brought Marina's purse, Robert tried to grab it first, but the staff member handed it directly to Marina. "Thank you," Marina whispered, clutching the purse to her chest. Inside was her phone with all the evidence she had collected. The documents, the emails, the audio recordings. Everything that proved Robert was not just an attempted murderer, but a criminal. In the ambulance, as they were taken to the hospital, Marina finally relaxed a little. She was alive, the baby was fine, and she had witnesses. Dozens of witnesses who had seen and recorded what happened. The paramedic next to her checked her blood pressure again. "You were very brave," he said softly. "Most people would have panicked. How did you manage to stay calm?" Marina looked out the ambulance window, watching the lights of New York City pass by. "I grew up swimming with piranhas," she replied, and for the first time in a long time, a small smile appeared on her face. "Only the real ones are less dangerous than the ones who wear suits." Marina woke up in the hospital with sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment she forgot where she was and what had happened. Then the memory returned like a wave. The party, the pool, Robert, the fall. She immediately placed her hand on her belly. Was the baby okay? Had he survived all that trauma? A nurse entered the room and smiled upon seeing Marina awake. "Good morning. How are you feeling?" "My baby," Marina whispered, her voice hoarse. "He's fine. His heartbeats are normal. You were very lucky. Both you and your son are very strong." Marina closed her eyes, feeling tears of relief stream down her face. "Thank God." "There are a lot of people wanting to talk to you," the nurse continued. "The police, lawyers, journalists. Your husband has been outside for hours asking to see you." "No," Marina said immediately. "I don't want to see him. Never again. I've notified security. He won't get in here." The nurse picked up a bag from the chair nearby. "This is yours. It arrived with you yesterday." Marina recognized her purse. She quickly opened it and checked her phone. It was still there, with battery and everything. She sighed in relief. "Can I see my phone for a minute?" Marina asked. "I need to check something important." "Of course, but only for a minute. You need to rest." Marina unlocked her phone and opened social media, and then her world turned upside down again. The videos were everywhere, dozens of different angles of the party, the argument on the platform. Marina's fall into the pool. Robert standing there doing nothing. Marina emerging and accusing him of attempted murder. The hashtags dominated the trending topics. Injustice for Marina. Robert Kingston murderer. Pregnant, in the pool. Piranha in the mansion. The videos had millions of views, millions. The whole world was watching, commenting, taking sides, and the overwhelming majority were on her side. Billionaire attempts to kill pregnant wife at lavish party. Shocking videos. Businessman lets wife fall into piranha pool. Marina Silva, the survivor exposing America's corrupt elite. Marina read the comments with a pounding heart. This man needs to be arrested now. She's a warrior. She survived and still had the courage to speak out. How many more women did he hurt that we don't know about? Jail him, justice. But it wasn't just ordinary people. Celebrities, influencers, politicians, everyone was speaking out. The video had gone viral to such an extent that it was impossible for Robert to control the narrative. He had tried to create a scene where he would be the victim of a paranoid wife. But the videos showed the naked truth. A powerful man trying to get rid of his pregnant wife in the cruelest way possible. Marina opened the secret email where she had stored all the evidence of Robert's crimes. It was all still there. Documents, contracts, audio recordings. She had spent months compiling it, waiting for the right moment to use it, and the moment had arrived. She began writing emails to investigative journalists, to human rights organizations, to the FBI, to federal prosecutors, attaching all the files, all the evidence. My name is Marina Silva Kingston. Yesterday, my husband, Robert Kingston, tried to kill me at a party. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. For months, I investigated his business dealings and discovered a network of crimes that needs to be exposed. I am attaching evidence of money laundering, corruption, bribery, and illegal non-disclosure agreements with women he harassed and silenced. America deserves to know who the man behind the mask truly is. She pressed send on each email, feeling a mix of fear and liberation. The room door opened and 2 police officers entered, along with a woman in a suit. Mrs. Kingston, I'm Detective Miller. I need your statement regarding yesterday's events. Marina nodded. I'll tell you everything, but first I need you to protect the evidence on my phone. There's very important information here. We're already aware, the detective said, sitting down. The party videos have gone viral. We've already initiated a preliminary investigation, and we just received several emails from you with attachments, many attachments. He's a criminal, Marina said firmly. It's not just about the attempted murder. It's about years of crimes hidden behind money and influence. We will investigate everything, the detective assured, but I need you to tell me in detail what happened yesterday. Marina recounted, every word from Robert, every look, how he manipulated her to get on the platform, how he created a narrative of an unstable wife in front of the guests, how he held her and then let her fall. He wanted it to look like an accident, Marina finished. He wanted people to think I was paranoid, unbalanced by pregnancy, and that I slipped. But he pushed me, I know it, and I think the videos show it too. Several angles show that he could have held you but didn't move, the detective confirmed. We have grounds for an attempted murder investigation at the very least. And the other crimes? The documents I sent? That will take longer to analyze, but if it's all true, we're talking about a big operation. Very big. Knocks on the door interrupted the conversation. A police officer quickly entered. Detective, you need to see this. The press is going crazy out there. There are at least 50 journalists wanting to talk to the victim. And Kingston's lawyer is holding a press conference right now, saying everything was a misunderstanding. The detective stood up. He can't do that. We're investigating attempted murder. He's alleging his wife has a history of emotional instability and is using her pregnancy to manipulate the situation. Marina felt the anger return. Of course he is. That's exactly what he does. Manipulates, lies, distorts reality. Mrs. Kingston, the detective looked at her seriously. Do you want to make a public statement? It's not mandatory, but it would be your chance to tell your version directly. Marina thought for a moment. She was tired, traumatized, 7 months pregnant. She should be resting. But Robert was out there, manipulating the story again, and she wasn't going to let him. I do, Marina said, getting out of bed with difficulty. I want to speak. Half an hour later, Marina was sitting in an improvised chair in the hospital hallway, dozens of microphones in front of her, cameras from all sides. She wore a hospital gown, no makeup, hair pulled back in a simple bun, but there was a strength in her eyes that made all the journalists fall silent when she began to speak. My name is Marina Silva. I grew up in a bayou community in Louisiana. My father was a fisherman. My mother was a seamstress. I learned to swim before I learned to read. And yesterday, those skills my humble family taught me saved my life and the life of my child. She paused, looking directly at the cameras. Robert Kingston tried to kill me yesterday. He planned it, he executed it, and he waited for me to die. It was not an accident, it was not my paranoia. It was a calculated and cruel attempt at murder in front of dozens of witnesses he thought would believe his version. The cameras clicked frantically. But I'm not just here to talk about yesterday. I'm here to say that this is bigger, that Robert Kingston is a dangerous man who used money and power to do terrible things and get away with it. And I have proof. Proof that has already been delivered to the competent authorities. What kind of proof? A journalist shouted. Proof of financial crimes, of corruption, of women silenced with non-disclosure agreements after reporting harassment, of an entire network of illegalities hidden behind a perfect public image. The commotion was immediate. More questions were shouted, more cameras approached. "Marina, are you afraid of retaliation? Are you filing for divorce? What do you want to happen to him?" Marina raised her hand, asking for silence. "I want justice, not just for me, but for all the people he hurt, and I will fight until I get it." She stood up, indicating that the press conference was over. Security guards began to move the journalists away as they led her back to her room. But Marina knew she had just declared war, and Robert wasn't going to give up easily. The following days were a whirlwind. The party videos circulated non-stop, with millions of views. Marina had become overnight a symbol of resistance against the abuse of power. Justice for Marina dominated social media, not just in the US but worldwide. The story had struck a deep chord in society. Marina was in the hospital when her lawyer, attorney Beatrice Collins, entered with a folder of documents. "Marina, I need you to sign these: a protective order against Robert, divorce papers, and a formal criminal complaint. Is he arrested?" "House arrest pending a hearing, but with the public pressure and the evidence you provided, it's only a matter of time." Beatrice leaned in. "More women have come forward, former employees, ex-girlfriends, all with similar stories of control, manipulation, and violence. You opened the door for them to speak." Marina felt tears. "I didn't want to be a symbol, I just wanted to survive." "And you did survive. And you saved other people in the process." Marina picked up her phone and saw the explosion on social media. Headlines everywhere. "Billionaire attempts to kill pregnant wife." "Marina Silva, survivor exposes corrupt elite." The comments were overwhelmingly in her favor. Celebrities, politicians, millions of people calling for justice. But most importantly were the emails she had sent. The evidence of Robert's crimes had reached the FBI, federal prosecutors, and investigative journalists. "Was the evidence useful?" Marina asked. "Useful? You delivered the biggest corruption and money laundering case in years. They're tearing everything apart." That night, Marina's mother and sisters arrived from Louisiana, entering the room in tears. "My daughter. I always knew there was something wrong with that man," her mother said between sobs. "I was ashamed, Mom. He said that without him I was nothing." Her mother held her face. "You were always my brave daughter. You never needed him to be special." Meanwhile, Robert watched his world crumble. Companies breaking contracts, investors fleeing, politicians denying association, and worst of all, Brittany had gone to the police. To save herself, she gave up everything: messages, audio recordings, evidence of premeditation. "I didn't know he was going to do that," Brittany cried in an interview. "He said he was going to file for divorce. I never imagined he was capable of that." Social media cancelled Brittany, but her testimony was crucial. At the arraignment, Marina watched on TV. Robert entered in a suit, but he looked smaller, older, frightened. The judge read the accusations. The list was long: attempted murder, money laundering, corruption, fraud, harassment. "Mr. Kingston, the evidence is vast and serious. I see no option but pre-trial detention." Robert was handcuffed right there, taken into custody. The images swept the globe. Marina watched in silence, her hand on her belly. It's over. It's finally over. She began receiving invitations for interviews, events, lectures. It was overwhelming. "You don't have to accept anything," Beatrice said. "You can disappear from public life." Marina considered it, but then she saw the messages. Hundreds of them. Women thanking her for her courage, saying that because of her, they had left abusive relationships. "You saved me," one message read. "I was married for 15 years to a man who controlled me. When I saw your story, I woke up. Thank you." Marina realized she couldn't disappear. "I'll accept some invitations, the ones that can help other people." 2 months later, Marina gave birth to Ethan, healthy and surrounded by love. Robert tried to request a visit from prison. It was denied. Marina posted a photo of her son. "It was worth fighting for. This is my Ethan, my reason to keep going. Millions of likes. The country celebrated with her. The true victory came 3 months later at the final trial. The courtroom was packed. Marina sat in the front row in a simple suit without jewelry. Her presence already said everything. Robert was unrecognizable, emaciated with deep dark circles under his eyes, graying hair. 3 months in prison had shattered his polished businessman facade. The prosecutor presented the case with precision, videos, technical reports, witnesses, and then the documents Marina provided. What began as attempted murder revealed a criminal network that had operated for years. Money laundering, bribery, illegal agreements. The defendant used power and money to operate above the law. The defense tried to argue, but it was weak. The truth was too glaringly obvious. When Marina testified, her voice was firm. He didn't push me out of anger. He pushed me because I was a problem he decided to make disappear. He did it in front of everyone because he thought his power was too great to be questioned. But you survived. I survived because my father taught me to swim in dangerous waters, because my mother taught me to be strong, because I carried a child and couldn't give up. She looked at Robert. I survived because he underestimated who I truly am. After 3 days, the jury deliberated. 2 hours later, they returned. Have you reached a verdict? Yes, Your Honor. In the case of attempted murder against Marina Silva Kingston? Guilty. Marina closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. In the other cases? Guilty on all counts. Robert collapsed. The judge brought down the gavel. Robert Kingston, I sentence you to 42 years of incarceration in a maximum security prison. All your assets will be confiscated for a fund to support victims of domestic violence. Marina watched him being led away. The terrible chapter finally closed. Outside, a crowd applauded. Marina! Marina! She stopped with Ethan in her arms. Journalists approached. How do you feel? Free for the first time in years, completely free. What will you do now? Be a mother, rebuild my life, and help other women. No one should have to survive what I survived, but if they have, I want them to know there is life after trauma. There is justice, there is a new beginning. Message for other victims. No matter how much power he has, the truth always finds a way. You are stronger than you think. When you take the first step to leave, you will discover that you are not alone. You just need to have the courage to cry for help. Applause erupted. 6 months later, Marina inaugurated the Marina Silva Institute, dedicated to supporting women in situations of violence. This institute is for every woman who felt trapped, silenced, without a way out. You have a way, and we will help you find it. After the ceremony, Beatrice approached. You created hope from trauma. Either it would destroy me, or I would use it to build something greater. I chose to build. And Robert? Marina looked at the horizon. Sometimes I think of him, but not with fear or anger, just distant sadness for the man he could have been. But he made his choices. Ethan cried and Marina rocked him, softly singing a bayou song, a song from home. She had come from a bayou community, survived a nightmare, exposed crimes, seen justice served, and now she was starting over, not as someone's wife, not as a victim, but as Marina. Mother, activist, survivor, free woman. The sun set over New York City. Marina watched the colors change. Feeling peace, she had plunged into dangerous waters, faced piranhas of all kinds, and emerged stronger. Her story began with cold blood in the water, but it ended with warmth in her heart, hope on the horizon, and an entire future ahead. And so ends Marina's story, who transformed the worst moment into hope for thousands. If this narrative touched your heart, leave a like. Subscribe for more stories that will make you reflect and believe that there is always a way out. Comment on which moment impacted you the most. Your story matters too. Until next time, and remember, you are stronger than you think.